Okay, so continuing biblical theology, let's just recap on what we've done the last few weeks. God intended to bless the world. He's always intended to bless the world. First, he intended it through Eden. God's place was Eden. God's people were Adam and Eve. And God's rule was through his word. And remember, God promised that there'd be a seed that would defeat Satan. Then God intended to bless the world through Noah. And God's place then was the ark. And God's people was Noah and his family. And his rule again was through his word. We saw that last time, time before last. And then God intended to bless the world through Abraham. And remember, with Abraham, God's place was the promised land. God's people was Abraham and his descendants. And again, God's rule was through his word. But particularly with Abraham, you see God's rule happen not just through his word, but through his covenant that he makes with Abraham, his obligation towards Abraham, his covenant to bless him and make the father of many nations and to bless everyone through Abraham and to give him the promised land. And so now, today, we start off just very briefly looking at Abraham's immediate descendants, who are called the Patriarchs. Okay, these are his sons, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. And the promises that God made to Abraham, you see him reaffirm these promises to Abraham's sons. So we see that the promises to Abraham are also made to Jacob. And so you see continuity here. But the thing about these people, the patriarchs, and even with Abraham, is that they're not actually particularly great examples. You look at their lives and you see them lying, being dishonest, and you're like, these don't seem like great examples. But at the same time, throughout the story, you see that God is called El Shaddai, which some people translate as the Almighty. So what we see is that even though these people mess up and these people flop, God is the mighty one who continues making sure that the seed, the offspring, is preserved. And he's the one who makes sure that his plans are going to happen even when his people mess up. Which means that the story, when we look at the Bible, the story is not so much about the people in the Bible as it is about God. Now let's just discuss that together for a minute and see what are the applications that this has for us today about the story being not so much about the people but about God.